Gregg Hill. I am teaching a few anatomy tips and yoga at the Yoga Teachers Trainer course, Thailand.
I would almost recommend, if you need it, to have the electrolytes checked in your blood. When you get that test done, make sure that those electrolytes are proper. Those electrolytes are off, it causes you to have mental problems because the brain is listening to the blood. Make sure your blood's right, and that solves a lot of problems. So I'm going to do pigeon pose, and where there is tension on the body, automatically the body will put blood to that area and start making blood cells automatically. And that's for any asana, anything the body does. Where there's a lot of work being done, the brain will automatically go to that part of the body and say, hey, send blood, start making blood cells. So before that, I can just take one foot and hold it up into the air, and everything in my brain through the foot is, the message is lift the foot into the air and balance on the other foot. Well, there's a lot of work being done between this foot and the brain to get this other foot to lift up. A lot of work in a split second. So the connective tissue that you're talking about, fascia, is a big deal. The nervous system itself, we're used to that, 120 miles an hour. Connective tissue goes at about 980 miles per hour, but it's not as exact. So from the big toe up to the neck, I can dissect the body and I can make it all one muscle. People talk about the psoas, about the erector spinae that come up to the back. We can dissect that apart and make it all one muscle. And there's a couple different energy lines in the body that reflect that. I can give you a link where you can see where the movies have been made, and they take a little bit of that and you can see it. But that shows that the big toe is connected to the head. Big toe is connected to the tongue. So when I lift my foot up, everything on my body, all 200 and 600 and some, it's 206 bones and 603 muscles. Everybody has to react to that. My point is, everything is connected. So I'm going to do pigeon pose, and you're going to see, I'm going to put some work into that, some energy into that, lifting up from the ground. Hold that posture, and you're going to see, you can imagine red blood cells are being made right where the energy is being needed. So somebody that works in the supermarket, they scan it and they push the groceries, and they scan it and they push. So all they do is they talk, and all they do is take their movement. 10 years from now, that person won't be able to put their hand up over their head. They're asking their body, hey, just push groceries all day. That's what the body will do. It will do that. A drummer really can't lift their arms up over their head if you get a professional one, because they're asked in this area to be a drummer. They ask the body to be a drummer, the body will respond and be a drummer. Swami Vishnu has you in a headstand. Why did he do that right off the bat? He said it was to change the consciousness of the world. So we're here, forwards and backwards on our feet. He says, okay, turn everything upside down. That's how you change the consciousness of the world. And you have your beginning yoga classes, you're not taught headstand. And of course, people with crooked backs, crooked necks, and if there's pain, they do not do headstand, shoulder stand, or really an inversion. So they could do an inverted V maybe. Something. They can bend over in a forward bend. Something. But a full-fledged headstand? No. So why Vishnu put headstand in the beginning, because he wanted to change the consciousness of the world. That's what he wanted. These postures all mean something. You use these postures to get somewhere. He went through all the asanas, all the practice, and he said, just take these 12 postures as basics, and that'll get you a long way. In his day, he gave a lot of variations. Things got bigger. 12 postures, start here, and in the 80s when I started, like 1980, just a lot of variations on everything. But headstand in the beginning, why? He wanted to change the consciousness of the world. And everybody's right side up. Hey, put everybody upside down. It does change, and energy goes through the body. It's a massage for the heart, but if you do that long enough, you will change. So I'm going to do pigeon pose, come up into it, and you can kind of figure out where the blood cells come, where the energy comes, and we want, in a posture, we want everything elongated most of the time. So we want strength in a elongated here. Most people use their upper muscles, and this is what they got. We want elongated. Lengthened position, we want it strong. So I'll do pigeon pose, put some bells and whistles on it, and lift up into it. And it's quite, I make it a lot of work because I want my body to get that energy. And Shivananda, Master Shivananda said, the more energy you give out, the more you get back, and that's a natural law. You can disagree with electricity, it still happens. You can disagree with gravity, it still happens. There's fundamental laws, and so Master Shivananda, Mother Teresa is the same way. Swami Vishnu is the same way. You could never get them tired. They could take a few minutes off and they come back and they're ready to go. They get energy from the people. Master Shivananda gave a kirtan. He would just come in, like Prahlad said, like 30 miles away, fire everybody up. He went to somewhere in India and some guy said to him, said, well, they're not very spiritual over there. He looked at the guy and says, I don't know. When I was there, I had everybody dancing. There's 34,000 people in that town. They just have the energy to... Swami Vishnu comes in here, you could feel him coming up here. You could feel that energy, but he did a lot of prana, a lot of exercises, and he tuned into Master Shivananda and he gave him everything he needed. You do your classes, just pray to Master Shivananda, can you help me out? See what happens. Anyway, pigeon pose, watch where it happens, bells and whistles. I want the energy in this body to move. I want it to happen. So my postures, unless I'm sick, they're live. Try to do them every day. Even if you just bend over once, and that's your practice, that's all you can do, fine. Do it every day, every day, every day. And you know what, I'll give you a little secret. When you teach, there's always an irritant in your room. Can't get around that. You have fans, mosquitoes, people, there's always an irritant. You have to deal with it. So you say in yoga, if you don't practice one day, you know it. If you don't practice for 2 days, your teacher knows it. If you don't practice for 3 days, everybody knows it. You start on time to honor yoga. You end on time to honor the people. That's, as your teacher, that's just how we do things. Pigeon pose, bells and whistles. So around the joints, we gotta keep going. Around the joints, there's a lot of energy being moved. Around the joints, the body comes into that. Hey, we got something going on here. There's work going from the big toe. The most important joint in your body is the big toe. Move your big toe right now. You can move that big toe. That joint should move. Your body is curious about what the big toe does. The man did 300,000 feet, individual feet, worked for 35 years as a podiatrist, as a foot doctor. Wrote a big book about 35 years of feet. For him, the most important muscle joint is the joint of the big toe. So now that's mine. I read the book. It makes perfect sense. What do the Japanese say about the feet? The feet are the gateway to 10,000 different illnesses. Okay, like that a lot. I'm going to take my legs and I lock my knees back. That stops the flow of blood to the brain. Go back out into the world. You come out and somebody's got their legs back, knees back. That person wants control. You just know that when you come in and their knees are locked back. If your knees are locked back, bend a little bit, you start to feel from the knee down to the foot, you start to feel the earth. If somebody looks at you and their skeletal system comes up to the ceiling, one woman was like this, I had a clinic, and I said, well, you really need to pay attention. She's paying $150 an hour to what's going on. She's looking, I'm here, she's looking at, she says to me, well, how do you know that? And I said, well, if your knees were looking straight ahead and your eyes were looking at me, that means you're paying attention. She was like this. How do you know I'm not paying attention? You can see it. It's very, very simple. Muscles and bones, your bones are very, very alive. So the heels, we're down on the heels. If we lift the toes up, that automatically puts us back on the heels, back on the bones. Now we're alive. When you come down to spinal twist is a good one, and people go like that. No, these bones, ischial tuberosities, have to be on the ground. That's when everything lights up. That's when you get your energy. That's when everything changes. The correction is to have those sitting bones on the ground. You work with somebody and they're laying down is one thing. Put them on their feet, put them where they're used to, and do the exercise. That changes everything, because the skeletal system, the bones, the blood, everything can deal with this. Blood, we talked about electrolytes. There's one last thing about the blood. You have to make sure the blood's right in the body. The brain listens to the blood. Most of your blood is in the upper leg. So what I'm going to do is I would take my feet and put them up over my head, and if my big toe or my little toe is hurt, the heart has to do a lot of pumping to get blood to the brain. The biggest thing I tell you about the blood, it takes out the trash. We want, if we get hurt or something happens, we want the blood to take the trash out as quick as we can. So I'm going to just lay here, put my legs up in the air, and that's, you can take an accident of 6 months to rehab. You can rehab them in 2 months if they just do this, because most of the blood is in the brain. Turn the person upside down at some level, and they don't have to do a headstand, children. Just let the legs come up into the air. Blood comes down. The blood is what takes out the trash. The faster you get the trash out, sooner you get healed. The other thing, if somebody, a doctor, they analyze the blood, it's like 3 or 4 pages long when they get done. You want them to look at everything. Get that test done, look at it, then take it to your friend who's a doctor and say, what do you think? See what they say. Sometimes practicing yoga, and if you're vegetarian, that's really helpful. You will find that there's a lot of red blood cells in your blood, like off the charts. These charts and everything that they give you are for meat eating, like United States, meat eating people, people that are really obese, and in the United States, over 52% of the people are medicated. So I used to make pharmaceuticals, research and development, so that's what I know. There's 6.8 billion tablets made. They make 6.8 billion tablets because they're going to sell them. So half the people in the United States, over half are medicated right off the bat. Say what you guys say and hurry on, tatsat, move on. If they're not interested, that's fine. If they are, that's fine too. So take the legs and leave them on the wall. You can watch the internet, you can get on the phone, you can do what you got to do, and let the stale blood come out from the lower body into the body itself, and then when you stand up, it's a flush. For us, when we go headstand, shoulder stand, any kind of inversion, it's a big massage for the heart and the veins and the passageways, because it cleans everything out. It's turning everything upside down. Then in your mind, everybody else is right side up and you're upside down, where you're going to see things different. And Swami Vishnu Devananda wanted to get a reaction. And actually he wanted these kind of places to come about, because if there was a nuclear war, these people here in TTC can teach the next generation basically how to live, that kind of thing. He openly said that. If you talk to him or in conversation, if you live with him, he would tell you that. Ashrams, yoga centers, just created change. The United States was probably 20-some million people that do yoga. That's how they got their change. Blood's alive, check the electrolytes. Bones are alive, check the, and watch the alignment. If my alignment is like this is like a tent. And that person is going to have a lot of problems here. If you see this, you can have lunch back here. The hips go straight up, the rib cage is over here, and then I bend my head, so the body's always going to look forward. So this, and I walk, and then I bend up, and then I have to look level with the eyes. So I have to take my head and pull it up. Ribs are back here, rib cage over here. Well, these muscles are going to pull everything back. So if I'm crooked, and I'm looking, the body will automatically change itself to where I have to look level. And you can just close your eyes, blah, 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 left, right, stop, and that's your body pose. If you want to know hip width apart on a yoga mat, just jump up in the air. That's hip width apart. Hip width apart, somebody does this to you. Wait a minute. How about this? And you just jump up and down, and then you're there. It's that easy. Swami Vishnu did not want you to live to be 100 years old. You use this body. You have something to do, go out and do it. Go out and be who you are, and that's you live your life. And then he chided us. He said, you don't want to live to be 100 to enjoy. Do what you got to do. And this body I have gets cremated, throw in any creek, or put it by the tree. It goes back to the earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And if you're Catholic and you want to be Catholic, the angels, the saints, and Jesus will take that spirit to God the Father, if you're Catholic. That's pretty good company. And they ask you that, and that's how they do it. Master Shivananda and this and that. But Swami Vishnu said, do what you got to do and be done with it. You don't want to stay around here to be 100 years old. So I went and learned all this stuff, spent a lot of money, and I'm totally fascinated with it. I like to take the body apart. Take the eyeballs out and everything. So from skin, it takes about a day to take all the fat off the body, down to the ribs, down to everything. And that's how you learn where everything goes. And you need your names and numbers, but fascia, connective tissue, for me it's all one body. And if you're, remember the person in the supermarket just uses their arm, the body will make sure that happens. And in time, if they don't do exercises, they cannot do this. Professional drummer can't do this because they work here. So you do headstand, shoulder stand, all the postures and everything. That's why Vishnu wanted to keep a balance. That's that.
Thank you.
Have any questions, comments, or anything else? Let me know.
Thank you, Gopala. That was good.